All right, so picture this. You're way up high in the Bulgarian mountains, like really high up, right on top of this peak called Buzludzha Peak. And there's this thing there.
Oh yeah, I've seen pictures. Kind of looks like a UFO just landed up there, right?
Exactly. It's this massive concrete disc, like seriously huge. You can't miss it. But, well, it's seen better days, all scarred up, kind of weathered. The wind just whips around it up on that peak. It's a pretty desolate scene.
I bet. Must be pretty eerie up there.
It is. And across the front, where it used to be all, impressive and stuff, there's this graffiti scrawled in big letters that says, Nulensi olvides tu pasado.
Which means?
Never forget your past. Kind of makes you think, doesn't it? And then there's this giant red star, or at least there was, like the Soviet star. It's busted up now, just this empty hole against the sky. There were all these vibrant mosaics, too, on the outside. You can still see bits and pieces, but most of them are gone, like these ghostly traces.
Wow. So what's inside this thing?
Well, inside, it's mostly darkness. Just slivers of light cutting through the broken bits. And you see all this debris everywhere. Used to have this grand auditorium, big open space. Now it's just echoing emptiness. And the silence, well, it's kind of broken by the wind.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But here's the thing, right? Look a little further out, beyond the structure itself, and you might see these modern wind turbines, spinning away. It's this crazy mix of, like, the past and the present, all right there.
So we're not just talking about any old ruin, are we? This sounds like something special, something mysterious.
Exactly. It's more than just a ruin. It's like this powerful, haunting enigma. And that's why we're doing a deep dive on it today.
Right, the Buzludzha monument.
Yeah. And for all of you out there who want the full story, without getting bogged down in, the boring details, we've dug through all the research, all the sources, and we're bringing you all the good stuff, the surprises, the mysteries, the whole 9 yards.
Sounds good to me.
All right, so first things first. This thing, officially, it's called the Monument House of the Bulgarian Communist Party.
Bit of a mouthful.
I know, right? But they also call it Dom Pamitnik na BKP.
Okay, I'll stick with Buzludzha monument, if you don't mind.
Deal. Anyway, it wasn't just some random architectural project. This is the Bulgarian Communist government. They built it back in 1981. Big opening ceremony, the whole deal.
And they chose that specific spot, high up on the peak. There's got to be a reason for that.
Oh, absolutely. It goes way back, even before the communists. See, back in 1891, there was this secret meeting right on that peak.
A secret meeting? Sounds intriguing.
It was. A bunch of socialist revolutionaries got together. They were led by this guy named Dimitar Blagoev. They wanted to create a real organized socialist movement.
So this meeting was kind of a big deal.
Oh, yeah. Huge. It led to the formation of the Bulgarian Social Democratic Party. And that party, well, it eventually became the Bulgarian Communist Party.
Ah, so they built the monument on that spot because of that meeting. It was like sacred ground to them or something.
Yeah, exactly. They saw it as this super important historical site.
So how did they even build this thing way up on a mountain peak? Sounds like a massive undertaking.
Oh, it was. They started on January 23, 1974. Architect named Georgy Stoilov designed the whole thing. And get this, they used dynamite to actually level the top of the peak.
Dynamite? Seriously?
Yeah. Blew off about 9 meters of the mountain, moved over 15,000 cubic meters of rock. They needed a flat surface for the foundation,
That's insane. Must cost a fortune.
It did. 14,186,000 leva. That's what they spent. In today's money, that's about 35 million US dollars.
Wow. Talk about commitment to the cause.
I know, right? And the classic example of that futuristic architecture they were so into back then. All about a bold utopian future and all that.
Yeah, I can see that. It's definitely got that vibe.
So the opening ceremony was a big event. August 23, 1981. Todor Zhivkov, he was the big cheese, the communist leader. He gave this whole speech, really hammered home the importance of the monument. How it was a tribute to Blagoev and those revolutionaries, a place for future generations to come and honor their legacy, all that jazz.
So it was meant to be this symbol of their ideology, a link to their version of history.
Exactly. But then, of course, everything changed.
1989, the Berlin Wall comes down, communism collapses.
Yep. And just like that, no more money for the monument, no more security either.
Yeah.
So it just sat there exposed to the elements and, well, people started vandalizing it.
Sad. So what happened to it?
They basically abandoned it. It was a total mess. But here's a twist. In 2011, they actually gave the monument back to the Bulgarian Communist Party.
Really? But it's still closed to the public, right?
Yeah. Right. Partially because it's just not safe. The building's in really bad shape. But it's also, a really controversial symbol. A lot of people just want to forget that part of their history.
Mhm.
And initially, there wasn't much interest in fixing it up for tourism or anything like that,
Makes sense. I mean, it's a powerful reminder of a pretty dark period for a lot of people.
for sure. And the interior, well, it just adds to the whole sense of tragedy and mystery. People who've been inside talk about this incredible darkness with these beams of light coming through holes in the roof. It's like this apocalyptic vision, they say, just scattered debris everywhere, this huge empty hall. It's a pretty far cry from the way it used to be,
Sounds like a pretty intense experience.
definitely. And here's the weird thing. A lot of people who visit talk about this almost spiritual feeling they get inside, like they're stepping into a communist temple or something.
A communist temple. That's an interesting way to put it.
Right. But I get it. You're in this huge silent space, all alone, surrounded by all this history. It's got to make you feel something.
No doubt. And with all that history and, the creepy vibes, I bet there are some pretty wild local legends about the place.
Oh, totally. Like people say you can feel the ghosts of Soviet soldiers walking around, hanging out in the amphitheater.
Ghosts. Now that's spooky.
Right. Whether it's true or not, it definitely adds to the whole mystique.
I bet it does. What about the time capsule? I heard there's a time capsule buried somewhere in there.
Oh, yeah, that's another big one. People say they buried a time capsule in the concrete, a message to future generations explaining the whole purpose of the monument.
I love the idea of that, like a message in a bottle from the past. But is it actually true?
Well, that's the thing. No one's ever found any proof. It's a great story, but probably just a myth.
Ah, too bad. Okay, so we've talked about the history, the spooky vibes,
Yeah.
but there's still a lot we don't know. Like, why that specific spot? I mean, yeah, the secret meeting, but was there something else?
That's a good question. Some people thought it might have been connected to, some historical battles or something. But honestly, the main reason seems to be that 1891 meeting. It was that important to them. It represented the birth of their whole ideology.
Makes sense. And let's talk about the architecture for a second. This thing was huge.
Oh, yeah, it was ambitious. That tower with the Soviet star, people say it was even bigger than the one on the Kremlin.
No way.
And inside, there were all these incredible mosaics, almost 1,000 square meters of them, made with tons of cobalt glass. They showed scenes with Lenin, Marx, workers, you name it. And there was this big slogan, too, proletarians of all countries, unite.
It's amazing to think about all the work that went into it, but why would they just let it fall apart like that? I mean, it was funded by public donations, right? Seems crazy to just abandon something like that.
I know, right? It's a head scratcher. It's like they went all in on this grand symbol and then just walked away.
Yep.
And those exterior mosaics you mentioned, they were made with natural stones from Bulgarian rivers. And now, poof, mostly gone.
That is strange. What happened?
Well, when communism collapsed, it was like a complete 180 in Bulgaria. Everything changed. And this monument, it became this symbol of a past that a lot of people wanted to just forget. So the money dried up, security vanished, and it was left wide open to the elements and vandals.
So it was kind of a societal rejection, huh? Like they just wanted to erase that part of their history.
Basically. And it wasn't just neglect. People were actively looting it, stripping it for scrap metal. It's sad, really. This incredible piece of architecture just falling apart.
I get it. It's like a reminder of a painful past. Some people would rather just pretend it never happened.
Yeah. But it's ironic, because before they closed it off, Buzludzha was actually a pretty popular tourist spot. Over 2 million visitors, they say.
Oh, that's a lot. So it did have potential, maybe.
Right. It could have been this amazing tourist attraction. But now, well, getting inside is a whole other story. You hear about urban explorers having to climb through holes in the ground, using ropes, all sorts of risky stuff.
Yikes. Sounds dangerous.
It is. Definitely not your average sightseeing trip.
So is anyone trying to save this place?
They are, thankfully. There have been some efforts to preserve it. A lot of it's been driven by the Bulgarian Socialist Party, trying to reclaim that part of their history. And then in 2018, Europa Nostra, they're this big heritage organization, they named Buzludzha as one of the 7 most endangered heritage sites in Europe.
That's a pretty big deal, right?
Yeah, it put Buzludzha on the map, in a way. And it seems to have helped kickstart some more serious preservation efforts.
Good. So who's doing the work?
This group called the Buzludzha Project Foundation, they've been doing some amazing work. They even got these big grants from the Getty Foundation to come up with a plan to manage the conservation and stabilize the mosaics that are left.
So they're not trying to completely restore it?
Not exactly.
Yeah.
The main goal is to create this interpretation center, a place where people can learn about Bulgarian history. The whole story, good and bad. It's more about understanding the past than trying to bring back the old regime.
I like that. It's about learning from history, not repeating it.
Right. And they've been working with universities to create a digital version of the monument, too.
Yeah.
So people can experience it, even if they can't physically go there.
That's a pretty cool idea. Make it accessible to everyone.
It is. They were hoping to open up the site for visitors, at least temporarily, by the end of last year.
2023.
Yeah. But, bureaucracy. Things got delayed.
Ah, figures. It's always something.
This whole story, it's just fascinating. So much going on. It really makes you think. If we were like investigators, trying to piece together the whole story of Buzludzha, where would we even start?
That's a great question. For me, step one would be to document everything. Get the lay of the land, take photos, do a structural survey, note every bit of damage, every way people are getting in, every little artifact that's left. We'd need a full picture of the situation.
Yeah, like establishing a crime scene.
Exactly. Then we dive into the history. We'd need to understand the political and social context. Why was it built in the first place? What was it like during the communist era? Why was it abandoned? It's all connected.
So we're not just looking at the building itself. We're looking at the whole story, the whole historical context.
Right. We'd also want to talk to people who have been there, travelers, locals, maybe even people who were involved in building or maintaining the monument, get their firsthand accounts, their impressions.
So those eyewitness accounts are crucial, huh?
They are. They can give you insights you won't find in any official records. And then there are the ghost stories, the paranormal claims.
Right. Those are hard to ignore. How would an investigator deal with that?
Well, we wouldn't be doing a paranormal investigation, with EMF readers and all that. But we'd definitely consider the environment, the isolation, the vast spaces, the darkness, all it can mess with your senses, make you feel things. We'd be looking for natural explanations for those spooky vibes.
So using a scientific approach, basically.
Exactly. And then there are the preservation efforts. We'd want to understand what they're doing, what their goals are, what challenges they're facing. It's all part of the bigger picture.
And what about that time capsule? Would you waste time looking for that?
Honestly, probably not. But we would check any architectural plans, any historical records, just in case. Even if we don't find anything, it tells us something.
So you're saying every detail matters, even the ones that lead to dead ends.
Absolutely. Every clue helps us paint a more complete picture.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive into the story of Buzludzha. It's a really thought-provoking place, even in its ruined state.
It is, and it raises some big questions,
Yeah.
What does it tell us about the rise and fall of ideologies, about the power of architecture, about our responsibility to the past?
Those are good questions. I don't know if we have the answers, but it's definitely worth thinking about.
I think so, too. And for you, our listener, I'll leave you with this. Is preserving Buzludzha, even in its current state, an important act of remembering history? Or is it just a futile attempt to hold on to a past that's better left forgotten? That's something for you to ponder.
We'll be back next time with another deep dive into the unexplained. Until then, keep exploring.
And keep questioning.